come back to it. So,
I'm going to admit to being an economist as well.
Yeah. What's the value of an economist? Debate or discuss. Yeah, or a politician. Yeah. Okay, so but clear. In other words, get it. Now the point is, no one looking at that for the first time can understand any of it. But the point is, the people who prepare it should understand it. And you should on a single page. The value of these sort of kind of dashboards is the paper that goes on the front, which says, you know, the portfolio office can't. The job of the portfolio office is not to prepare these kind of dashboards, then give them to management and expect them to interpret them, because it's just this whoosh sea of data. Go back to when you drove a car for the first time and you turn the key and you look at the dashboard. You know, you can't. Whoa! All these little lights flashing. And it took some time. The job of the portfolio office is to make sure management knows where to look and what's it telling us. Often, the single-page report tells you more than big documents will. When we first, those who've heard me speak, when we first introduced this report, just said, look, forget your big business case, forget your 6 volumes of benefits analysis. What's your top 10 benefit? What's the top 10 benefits? How much are they worth? When are you going to get them? And I've mellowed with age. I now say 5. What's the top 5? Most most program directors can't answer that question, which I suggest is a bit of an issue. But we said, what are your top 10 benefits? Who's the project here? I went to the project board. Total benefits 120 million. Top 10 benefits shown as not currently available, not currently available, not currently available, not currently available. I said, if your top 10 benefits have a value that's not currently available, what's the 120 million made up of? They said, yeah, good point, can we get back? You know, they weren't bad guys, these were good guys. They had the big business case, they had the 6 volumes of analysis, they thought someone must know what the benefits are. No one did. Yeah? Because it was a conspiracy, it was a garbage written to get them under stock in the first place. What we were trying to do was make it clear, what are we going to get for our money? Now, whether we choose to invest is not my decision, but I want to make it clear. This point about what do you do if people get awkward and won't give you the information. Our solution was easy. We left blanks. And we put blank this month, blank 2 months, blank 3 months. And put them, so that's okay. If you don't want to give it to us, fine. But we're going to give it to ministers. And ministers might want to ask questions of you. That's the way, and we didn't muck around. If you don't give us the information by the deadline, there's an agreed deadline, then it goes in with 0, an empty line. Evidence-based, the last one, this point about it has to be evidence-based. I mentioned Bob Cooper in Canada, best project inspection system in the world is worthless unless the data is sound. I've got news for you guys. These people don't provide sound information. If you don't believe me, the Treasury, our economists, there's a demonstrated systemic tendency for project appraisers or the people who write business cases to be overly optimistic. There's worldwide private and public sectors, appraisers tend, these guys tend to overstate benefits and underestimate times and costs. That's Treasury. That's what they said, based upon some research by Mark McDonald. Anyone know this guy? Anyone pronounce his name? It's Flupia. Yeah, not, it looks like Flyberg or something. It's Flupia. A flying mountain or moving mountain or something. It's Danish. It's still Danish, but it's now at the University of Oxford. It's the head of major programme management at Oxford. It's a major player. Undertaken the largest study of project and programme success worldwide over 70 years. Excellent book. I can't remember what it's called now, but published by Cambridge University Press. Google him. Anyway, with some of his buddies from Denmark. So, major study. He says Treasury are wrong. Because Treasury say there's a tendency. Right? He says there's no tendency here. They do it. You underestimate the cost and you overestimate the benefits. And you do it again and again and again and again and again. And he actually says it should be a criminal offence. These guys that write business cases should be put into prison. Yeah? You know, he's obviously not being entirely serious with that. He's saying that there should be some sort of professional sanction. And these guys here, I used to say, has anyone heard of the guys they want to write? Daniel Kahneman. And I can say no one in this room has heard of Daniel Kahneman unless you've heard me talk about Daniel Kahneman. Anyone heard of Daniel Kahneman? No. I say, well, why would anyone have heard of Daniel Kahneman? Well, he won the Nobel Prize in 2002. He's the second most cited source in economic textbooks since the Second World War. So our economist friends, when they want to cite someone, apart from Maynard Keynes, they cite Daniel Kahneman. The really interesting thing about Daniel Kahneman is he's not an economist. Hooray! He's a psychologist. Economists tell you how you should make decisions. Psychologists look at how we actually make decisions. And what Kahneman says is we're delusional. As a species, we are delusional. We overemphasise projects, it's called the planning fallacy. We overemphasise projects' potential benefits, underestimate likely costs. We spin success scenarios while ignoring the possibility of mistakes. In other words, it's not that we don't know that projects come in late, over budget and under deliver. We know it, but ours won't. Yeah? That's the problem. And we do it again and again and again. There's some really interesting debate in the Harvard Business Review between Flupia and Kahneman, where Flupia said, look, he said, oh, well, we'll come on to it. Yeah, so listen, some of these, what Kahneman talks about, some of these cognitive biases. I just picked a few here. Sunk cost. You know, as a species, we are afflicted by sunk cost. We can't ignore, the Concord effect. There is one group in society that is not affected by the sunk cost effect. Who is that group? These are the people we need to make our investment decisions. Not economists. No, economists are they're among the worst, right? They really are. Who aren't affected by sunk cost? Children. Children aren't. Lots of research. Children aren't affected by sunk cost. Tom Peters. Anyone remember Tom Peters? Yeah. Hey! It's terrible because these days, Tom Peters. Who? Tom Peters. Right. Tom Peters used to be God or a God. Tom Peters said, organisations adopt strategies that a 5-year-old could tell you won't work. The trouble is, there's never a 5-year-old in the boardroom when you need one. And you hear people off, and he says, I see nothing funny in that statement. It's been deadly serious. But I haven't brought it with me. It's a great paper. If anyone wants it, I can let you have it. How do we differentiate ourselves from animals? What differentiates humans from animals? We normally say it's our rationality. We are rational, they are not. I've got an academic paper that says there is no evidence that animals take sunk cost into consideration. Spooky, right? Animals are more rational than we are. And a whole load of them. So this groupthink is a real issue. That's the problem. Yeah, we all kind of believe in the same thing. We believe certain things are good, and we reinforce our belief by backing, by talking to each other. And we all say it's good, and therefore it must be good. And that's, probability. We think heads. It's less likely than heads, tails. It's not exactly the same. Whole load of stuff. There was some research, Knox and Inkster. Think about the impact for projects and programs here. Economists go and look at projects and programs. Psychologists go to horse racing tracks. Yeah, it's really good. So if you're going to read economic research or psychology research, I suggest you read psychology research. But Knox and Inkster went off and they asked people about the place of bet. What's the chance of your horse winning? And on a scale from 1 to 7, it came out sort of an average, I think about 3.41. That's the chance of the horse winning. They had a control group that they asked, what's the chance of your horse winning? But now they asked them after they placed the bet. Nothing else had changed apart from the fact they'd laid some money down. It went from 3.41 to 4.81. That's described as a statistically significant difference. In other words, nothing had changed, but it's what's called the endowment effect. In other words, when you've got something, we value it more than we would pay to get it in the first place. So this problem about trying to kill failing projects is very difficult. Because once it's got going, they tend to get ahead of steam. That's why modular project programs are so important again. So you can build in those proper checkpoint reviews. I mentioned the planning fallacy. Oh, self-serving bias, that's a good one as well. When our children do well at school, it's because they're clever bunnies. Yeah? When they do badly, it's because of the teachers, the other kids, yeah? Or they're real. When a company has a good year, look at its accounts. To what do they attribute their success? Superior strategy, superior execution. When they have a bad year, it's the Japanese, the government, yeah? That's the problem, yeah? We take responsibility for the head of Barclays with his big bonus, what a huge success he's been. Yet when they have a bad year, it's not down to him. It's always down to someone else. And that's what we do. As a species, self-serving, so we find it very difficult, and obviously Texas sharpshooter, in other words, we decide after the event what success looks like, and then draw the target. We should be a lot more rigorous in the way that we assess. Anyway, so what do we need to do? Well, number one, we need to get a common set of rules, usually on costs. We have a common set of rules, but from a portfolio perspective, we need to get a common rule set on benefits, so we have consistency about the benefits that we put in each of our projects and programs. Otherwise, how can you do that investment appraisal? How can you do proper portfolio prioritisation? Book them wherever possible. Book them in someone's target or someone's objectives or some budget baseline or whatever it is. Make sure it's booked somewhere. Appraise potential investments from more than one perspective. There is an unfortunate truth for people like me as accountants. My weapon of choice is net present value. Yeah? You're aware of net present value? Boring, yeah. You put the numbers in, you crank the handle, cost and benefits, calculate the NPV, prioritise the projects on the basis of highest NPV, bigger NPV, better than smaller NPV. It only works if the costs are reliable and the benefits are reliable. And yet we know these guys aren't reliable. Yeah? The costs are understated, the benefits, and the scale of it on IT. These guys, they're the worst ones of the lot. Look at the research. The research on IT. We're not talking about 10 or 15% here, guys. Yeah? The lesson seems to be multiply it by 3. Collins and Bicknell, big research in the late 90s, Gould and Goldfinch in 2006. If you want to avoid failure on big IT programs, work out the cost in detail, then multiply it by 3. You think that's outrageous? John Suffolk, the government CIO, said when he was in the private sector, his rule of thumb was double the costs and halve the benefits, and it's still worth doing, it's probably worth looking at. The trouble is, once everyone knows you're doing that, of course, they adjust the benefits and the estimates in the case. So, the answer is reference class forecasting. Anyone heard of reference class forecasting? In other words, if you're going to build a bridge, what happened the last time you built a bridge? If you're going to build a motorway, what happened the last time you built a motorway? Why do we think the future is going to be any different from the past? The point is here, what you're overcoming. Kahneman talks about these cognitive biases. Flupia, Flupia actually says these guys, it's not just delusion. They're doing it deliberately. Flupia, Professor Ben Flupia calls it strategic misrepresentation. What does Professor Ben Flupia mean? I haven't got a paper now, unfortunately, but it's true. Google it. What does he mean by strategic misrepresentation in one word? Lying. Lying. In fact, usually I'll read it out. We used to call it, it sounds technical, it sounds clever, but really it's lying. That's his conclusion. Business case, a lie. They're deliberate lies. The point is, if you use reference class forecasting, it overcomes both the cognitive bias and strategic misrepresentation because it's based upon facts. What happened last time? If your organisation only ever gets 80% of its benefits, why would you count any more? Just take 20% off the top to start with. Look at what happens with your projects. How many organisations truly track their project and programme performance? I would suggest if you don't, and I've yet to see one that really does it, we did some research for the OGC in government recently. The Green Book in 2003 said we encourage government departments to collect a reference. They didn't call it reference class forecasting, they got optimism bias adjustments. Same thing though, or similar. As at 2010, how many government departments have collected evidence on their performance in terms of benefits realisation? Anyone hazard a guess what that number would be? The number ranges from 0 to, I don't know, 50 or something. From 0 to 50. Your choice? Yeah, 0, not one. Not one in 7 years. And this is binding guidance by economists. They write guidance, they throw it out there. Binding guidance, and then everyone ignores it. Go figure. So, but collect evidence. So what is your performance? And use that performance. This is the point. You want to prove you take stuff seriously. I was talking to Justice recently. Justice said to me, Steve, you looked at all we're doing on portfolio management, and we're doing, sorting out the business cases, we're getting the dashboards, we're going to set up a PMO, we're going to do a maturity assessment, and that'll keep us busy for the next couple of years. But what else should we be doing? I said, no, forget all that stuff. I mean, it's kind of important, but it's not really where it's at. If you want to make a difference, the first thing you should do should be the last thing you would normally do. And that is start doing post-implementation reviews today. And I mean real post-implementation reviews. Anyone ever seen a real post-implementation review? I promise you, there aren't many. The OGC, I went to say, there is this thing called Gateway 5 in government, yeah? This is Chatham House rule. Anyway, I'm leaving government, they can't do anything more to me now. I'm safe. I have to say what like anyway. But I said to the OGC, let's look at some Gateway 5s. Gateway 5 is the gateway that looks at, in government, looks at were the benefits realised. Why do we invest in projects and programmes? To realise benefits. Gateway 5, have you realised the benefits? And the guys at the OGC said to me, oops, that's a bit of a problem, because we don't do any. Or not many, about 5 a year. What? And the NEO did a study. They found that 80% of government departments don't use Gateway 5. I said, you buggers, I didn't know it was optional. If it was optional, I wouldn't have done that. Why would you? Think about it, really. You wouldn't, would you? It's only bad news. So, Anyway, I managed to get hold of about 15 of it's all on the, if you do Google on the OGC, I've gone on the OGC website, look at reports, that section, it's all there. I managed to get hold of about 15 of them.